This is Past the
R.I.P.
We're back. I guess we have to do this now.
I guess, yeah. How unfortunate for yourself.
Without further ado, I'll hand this thing right off to Caesar.
Well, everybody, wildcard weekend has concluded. There were some shockers, some upsets, some results that we didn't find all too surprising. But before we can get into any of that, let's talk about some NFL news and notes. And really, the only news that there is to talk about during this time of the year that's not playoff related is head coaching hirings and firings. And we're going to get you caught up with at least one head coach that's been hired and one that was not technically fired, but also is now looking to be hired by somebody else that's new. Anyway, Mike Vrabel, to no one's surprise or shock, was announced as the New England Patriots' newest head coach.
After a thorough abuse of the Rooney Rule, of course.
Yes, and a very funny one at that, where they just double-dipped with Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich.
Same graphic announced it and everything.
Were they allowed to re-interview Gerard Mayo even though they fired him?
No, I don't think so.
I'm sure they asked that question to league front offices, though.
Oh, 100% they did. They're like, hey, we don't have to do this if we already had a guy that was a minority, right? And the NFL's like, no, you just hire somebody or just interview somebody real quick. How do you think those interviews go? Do you think they just sit in a room and they're like, hey, listen, this isn't actually a real interview, but here's some money, some hush money under the table. Yeah, we're just going to get the ball rolling.
I'm sure it's just a bunch of unspoken fucking
It definitely depends on which owner you're dealing with.
Robert Kraft, in this case, I feel like he might have thrown them some hush money. He strikes me, that guy.
You're both getting a massage. You're like, hey, this is great. Thank you. I've never had this experience. You both turn over.
You're like, I've never paid less than $100 for a massage before. What is this strip mall you brought me to?
You hear him turn over a little sooner than you, and you just start hearing a little.
Why did we have to meet in Calgary for this? I don't understand.
Oh, it could be worse. They could have met somewhere else. They could have met right here in Dallas, just down the road from where I live. No. Bethke got it.
Are we plugging? You got plugs?
Are you just over by Harry Hines?
Yes, I'm over by Harry Hines. Not to dox myself, but it's very close to where I live. But anyway, so yeah, he gets hired.
Are there neighborly rates?
I don't think so. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that there are no neighborly rates or discounts for living in the area.
How do they work with Groupon?
You're gonna have to ask them that. I have no. I can show you where they're at if you want that. I don't think you want that though. You're a soon-to-be married man.
No, you're more than correct on that. Honestly, it cracks me up that Harry Hines is a very long street. And so,
I was going to say, because I don't actually know which part of it, because I've never really traveled through it. I know that part of it is the former quote-unquote red light district, but
I mean, it still is.
The only part that I've really spent any time on is over there.
The one by downtown?
Gerald J. Ford.
Yeah, no, listen. I live on the side that gets all that business going. There's the other side of Harry Hines where nothing's happening over there. It's just over by downtown, over where Jerry had that little car wreck. I remember when that news came out, everybody was like, what's this man doing in Harry Hines?
Yeah, he was way off over in downtown part. Yeah, no, even in medical district, you really don't get that much.
Yeah, no, it's all over by Shady Trail, near the freeway. Yeah. Anyway, the audience doesn't need to know this, or maybe they do.
We are a local podcast.
Maybe, right? We are local. But anyway, back to the news
now, but we'll have at least 20 minutes on the Eagles later.
Right.
Don't worry. We'll get plenty of stupid DFW talk here in about 5, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, real soon.
Well, it was necessary regardless. We always have to pay homage.
Yes. Shout out to all the ladies doing the Lord's work down at Harry Hines. Now, back to the NFL news at hand. So, Mike Vrabel hired the New England head coach, and now there's a bunch of questions about, well, who's the offensive coordinator going to be? Because this is a guy who, he cut his teeth as a quality control coach, a defensive coordinator, position coach, and now he's a head coach. And listen, he nailed his offensive coordinator picks in Tennessee. He had Michael Floor, he had Arthur Smith, but now he's not going to get those guys. And let's talk about, maybe he calls up Josh McDaniels. Don't do that. Be imaginative. Try to figure it out. Put your quarterbacks in a good position to actually learn something. But yeah, we'll see what New England does to how they fill out the rest of their staff. I don't imagine that this pick is anything special because I feel like he kind of underwhelmed in Tennessee. He had that one season where they were the number one seed and they were one and done. And they have one playoff win in his entire tenure there. And that's with Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown on the team. So, he had a reputation for being like this guy who knew the rules really well, had some gamesmanship to him. But he underperformed, especially those last 2 years in Tennessee, and he lost the power struggle there. So we'll see how New England adapts to having him.
I think he had a relative get caught taking a poop during draft day, right?
I actually don't know anything about that. You're going to have to enlighten me.
Yeah, I think like a reflection in one of the draft videos from his like war room at home. And you could see one of his like sons or something on the shitter.
So he's sitting on a stool, but I can see why this does look like.
Okay, yeah, the internet ran with it as the shitter.
Yeah.
That's
one of those things where that story got out so hard that no one ever circled back to find out.
They're like, it's fine. It's just a kid. What does it matter?
But yeah, that does look.
That's okay. If they want to take shits with the door open at their house, it's their prerogative,
That's right. Hey, you don't want to be in there with all that stench.
We had in my middle school, there was a bathroom where it was supposed to be a 3 stalled option, but one of them, I guess 2 of them, the middle divider wasn't there. So it's just 2 open toilets next to each other. Now the door is shut in the front. The door is shut in the front there.
Wait, do they both work though?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then in high school in our field house, and I'm guessing they did this on purpose. They took the doors off of all of the toilets for the locker room shower area. So, but I'm assuming that's just because the kids. No, you did. Everyone did. It's just you turn the corner, see someone squat on the toilet, and you move on. But I'm assuming the kids were doing something bad, so they just got rid of the doors.
Mm-hmm. All right, it's like you guys need to take a shit. Everybody gets to see you take a shit.
I mean, they were deep enough back. It wasn't like you were just like in everyone's business, but like if you were going to look for one, you obviously had to turn your head a couple times. But whatever. It's a locker room. You're all in the shower naked together, anyways. Not really.
That's what I call locker room talk.
Fair enough.
I'm pretty sure NFL locker rooms still do like that same like shower style. Like it's not even like jail style with like curtains up. It's still just the poles with the 4 heads on either side.
Just the linemen helping each other out.
It's like, hey man, get my back for me. It was a rainy day out there on the field.
Bro, I love how tender you are with the loofah.
Anyway, let's move on, shall we? To more local news. To the surprise of some, Mike McCarthy is out in Dallas. But to the not surprise to many, the Dallas Cowboys totally just fumbled his exit out of Dallas. Because now they are a week behind the ball in terms of their coaching search. And yeah, now we got the it makes a lot of what they've done really weird. So, for example, the Chicago Bears earlier, I believe it was last week, it was reported that they had requested permission to interview with Mike McCarthy for their head coaching position, to which the Dallas Cowboys denied such.
Also, they took their time on that because when we were recording, we were like, we'll see because they've got like 24 hours to do something about it.
Yeah.
So they even took their time on
basically
that.
ignored it eventually, yeah.
No. And listen, there's been a lot of discourse around Mike McCarthy's legacy here with the Dallas Cowboys, everything that he's done during his time here. And then, of course, there's a lot of talk about how the Jones handled this. And I don't think anybody's surprised by the fact that they dragged their feet and now they are behind in the coaching search. And I'm sure in their heads, they're like, well, you know what? It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I think for them it was like he's under contract until his contract's out.
This is one of the most coveted jobs in the NFL.
Uh-oh.
No.
Cowboy.
What happened?
Are we caught back up?
Dallas Cowboy.
I'm good. Yeah.
Cowboy.
What's the matter, Patrick?
I think we're good now.
It's not on me. Yeah, that might be just a certain thing. But anyway,
whatever it was,
my speeds are still high, brother.
I don't know. Whatever.
It might be the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Jerry heard us talking.
He sent a hit out. He sent out a DDoS on us. But anyway, yeah. Back to the matter at hand. So, now they're behind the 8 ball in terms of the search, but we've heard some names coming out recently. Both from Mike McCarthy in terms of teams interested in him, and then who may or may not be interested in the Dallas Cowboys coaching position. But I want to say this.
Not Troy Aikman.
Not Troy Aikman. Thank you, Beth Gill. On the same wavelength here. It is so funny to see that man go out on Monday Night Football and just immediately, I forgot his exact words, but so I'm paraphrasing here.
It's not a coveted job, basically.
It's not as coveted a job as people may think it is.
It was, but he said it more of a lot of people regard it as coveted, but I don't know if I would agree with that as essentially,
Because I don't think it was until really McCarthy's getting brought in that people fully started being aware of how little Jerry pays such a prime position in the organization.
Yeah.
And really how he tries to get away with being cheap throughout most of the organization. I mean, they're not an organization like many sports organizations that do many favors to their employees. So like it's working for the Cowboys definitely comes with a you should be happy to be here and be a part of the brand for almost every part of it. I mean, the cheerleaders, some of the players have to deal with this, not all of them, obviously. Low level, entry level positions. It's this way. It's company culture whenever it's, the Jones boys and girls.
They would pay people in clout, I feel.
Well, and that's the thing is Jerry and like people like to joke, he's still trying to run the team like it's the 90s or whatever. He still believes that the world works like it's the 90s where the Cowboys, well, yes, they do make the most money, but an NFL player is not making.
Dallas Cowboys.
An NFL player and coach isn't making my Dallas Cowboy bonus check. You know what I mean? They can still make all that money playing literally anywhere else and not having to deal with you.
True. Now, let's talk about who will probably have to deal with the Jones going forward. So a couple of names have sprouted out, right?
Got a new one in the last 2 hours. That's hilarious.
Just to talk about the current candidates that have been mentioned. Kellen Moore, right, has a history as the offensive coordinator during the Garrett era had some overlap with Mike McCarthy for a while. And it would make a lot of sense in terms of having somebody familiar with Dak Prescott, with the players on that team, and a guy who would probably be okay with being underpaid as a head coach, just so he can finally get the opportunity to do so, right? Now, outside from Kellen Moore, we've heard the following names as well. Mike Zimmer, right? I've seen some talk of Deion Sanders, and I think that one's probably the most obvious candidate for a lot of people. But I think that's the one that they're never going to get, simply for the part where Deion Sanders is the show, right?
Whoa.
As the coach, And
Deion's buyout is as much as 1 year of Mike McCarthy, and that alone is just he's not hiring him.
Yeah,
no one's paying that $10 million buyout.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to pay that buyout, and
I think Jerry and Deion Jerry and Deion both got exactly what they wanted out of this already.
Now they might have a conversation that's like, "Hey, see me in 2 years or whatever."
Maybe, but who knows what that'll go. I'm more willing to believe that Deion Sanders goes to a different franchise than to ever be a head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, just simply because he is the star attraction of the show. Even at Colorado, he was at his previous stops, always been that way. And then in Dallas, it would be kind of fighting for attention with Jerry Jones, which would be a really weird dynamic to have.
And it feels like in Vegas, he would get the rights to, dictate the terms for his son as well.
And he'd have to work with Brady. A cowboy hat in the desert, so
true. I mean, he can make the cowboy hat work wherever he wants.
I don't think it plays in Green Bay.
No, Green Bay, they're the most country people really, truly out in America left in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Close enough. But yeah, and then I've seen now recently Jason Witten's name being thrown around, which would be a joke. I think that.
So what I saw from the insiders on that is he was already going to be brought in to be interviewed for just a position. And so I think that's really all that is like there was talk that he might be listed as some sort of head coach in waiting under McCarthy. But I think the idea was that he would just to get him on staff, not necessarily make him your head coach.
You know what's funny though is the idea of like whoever they do hire comes with the fact that they like have to hire Jason Witten.
I mean that kind of I can't think of the right word, not belied, but something that messed up Wade Phillips was he had to have Garrett. He didn't have an option there.
Yeah, and that's not a new thing with certain organizations. Like the Eagles did that. The Eagles do that quite often, actually. But I don't think you see it.
I don't think you see it successful. It's successful, yeah. Organizations.
For
the Patriots tried it with Mayo. How'd that go?
Yeah, and for the Eagles, you only really do that for positional or coordinator positions and not head coach. Like, there's never been like this guy he has to stay on staff to be the next guy after you leave. It's more like no, this guy just needs to be a part of your staff one way or another. So I think organizations that do that and they want to be successful, you don't want to have this head coach in waiting position because that's going to be a disaster more likely than not. Now, some other names that I've seen thrown around as candidates that might be thrown around, that the Cowboys might try to interview. Of course, there's Ben Johnson of the Lions. I don't think that's going to happen. Aaron Glenn of the Lions, that one might be a little bit more realistic. I've seen Brian Flores. I don't think that's happening. Yeah. Bils offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Now that one would be a really interesting pick, as well as Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. But I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see some retread names, and that they're going to settle for the retread coaches.
Yeah, there's only been one official interview announced and one other official request that I know of.
And which ones are
Robert
those right
Saleh?
now?
Robert Saleh is the interview, and Leslie Frazier is who they've been requesting to speak with today. Which let me tell you, you don't want that one unless you know the bottom out theory.
Rooney.
That means we know. Yeah, so that means we know who they're gonna. We know that they've hired somebody.
Saleh would count as Rooney Rule.
They just did what
Leslie Frazier would count as Rooney Rule. Aaron Glenn would count as Rooney Rule.
No, but they just did what the Patriots did.
I'm just saying,
do they have a guy?
So I don't know.
I feel like
is Josina? I don't know enough. Is Josina Anderson?
It's totally Kellen.
Is Josina Anderson a plug for the franchise? Or
I would. Yeah, I mean, I feel like she's fine. She's more of a national person, but I would feel like that's.
I shouldn't know where she falls on that. She says they've already inquired about multiple head coach candidates. They are further along in the process than it currently feels to the public.
I figured
Jerry Jones is not a rookie at this. which basically just means he's constantly talking to everyone all the time, asking them if they want to coach the Cowboys.
Well, listen.
He's like, I can fire Mark. I can fire Mike tomorrow if I want.
There's one thing about
we can give you some clout. We can give you some clout.
The Dallas Cowboys. So that's the thing.
Nice little office at the Star.
So they've gotten 2 Rooney rules. So now this is how they do it now. It's you double Rooney ruled so that no one can get mad at you. You did it twice. And then you hire, I guess, okay, it's a white guy. It's got to be Kellen Moore, right? Or is it Jason Witten?
Kellen Moore makes the most sense for Jerry.
It does. Yeah. However, they are going to have to wait a while for that.
This is how I did it. Okay, so it's likely Kellen Moore, Jason Witten if Jerry has completely lost it. If dementia Jerry is in full effect, it's Jason Witten. Dion if Jerry is completely just about making this about money and potentially a Netflix show next year.
And getting Shador, I mean, that could be good.
They don't
have
the resources to go get Shador.
Would they eat?
If Dion says he won't sign anywhere else, then
would the Netflix contract be big enough for them to eat the dead cap for a Dak trade?
Not how salary cap works.
Huh?
You can't use that money for the salary.
No, but I'm saying would Jerry?
Oh, would he feel like it covers it? Yeah, okay.
Would he feel like it's fine? And then Ben Johnson, if hell freezes over. Bill Belichick, following the Parcells plan, feels like there's not always like an impossibility.
What's the buyout cost for Bill Belichick?
The problem is it's 10. It's 10 until July 1st, and then it goes down to $1 million. So that was my thinking: is Bill shadow running the Cowboys while setting his son up for a decent job at North Carolina until July?
Like a lot of work.
That'd be crazy.
Like that.
He hasn't been working in 2 years. He's itching.
Can I also say Aaron Glenn and Robert Saleh would actually be cool. Leslie Frazier is definitely
Aaron Glenn scares the hell out of me, and I wouldn't mind seeing him leave Detroit.
So here's the thing. Here's Bill Belichick's buyout. It's $10 million if he leaves before June 1st of 2025. It's $1 million after. There is no fucking way any NFL organization is going to wait that long when they've had all this time to hire Bill Belichick. There's just no effing way.
That would just
be out of your goddamn mind.
Continue in the pattern, how they handle all their contracts, how they handled Garrett
but
and
that's
McCarthy.
An exaggeration of how they handle things. Because you're essentially what? You're going to set up – so you're going to go all the way through the draft without a coach and then go right near the start of training camp or like mini camps and then you get your coach? That doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, I think he's right. I think he's right. I think there's a good possibility.
You hire Kellen Moore and then
for like a few months,
and then June 1st you demote him and or you hire Kellen Moore as your head coach and then bring in Bill Belichick as your general manager.
Okay, first of all, that's where you lost me already. I mean, you lost me before, but now you're gonna make Jerry strip himself of that title? No way.
Or what is Will McClay's title? Director of player personnel or something?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Unless you want to give him some made up title,
because I think Will McClay also needs a new contract, right?
Huh?
Yeah, I think Will McClay just basically has to decide when I want to fucking leave every year.
Running 1 year, right? Yeah.
He just has the LeBron 1-1 every year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
why
that's
not
ridiculous.
Why not Bones? Why don't they hire Jim Fossil as their head coach?
He'd be a pretty good bullshit candidate for sure.
Players would love it.
I don't think that they're that bold to do that. I think they learned something about. I think the Dave Campo years they were trying to win a Super Bowl. They were just actually that bad. I think now they're not trying to win a Super Bowl, but they're actually pretty good. If they were trying to win a Super Bowl, this would be a much more interesting conversation to have. But that's why I honestly was more advocating for McCarthy to come back. It was like whatever. And now I'm honestly just advocating for Dion or Aaron Glenn just to see it. Like, just cool. I get to fuck it. Might as well.
That's the question: is do you want them to actually go to the Campo route, bottom out, build up some picks, and then go get a good coach to turn it back around?
It's not possible. Jerry doesn't want them to be that bad. Yeah. He won't let it happen.
Which is why Parcells existed. Yeah, for the Cowboys.
No, I think Jerry did at that point want to compete and win. I don't think he just thought of it as a money pit.
He was 25 years younger, so
he was actively awful, and the people around him were awful, and they ran that franchise into a hilarious pit of despair.
And then honestly, the Romo thing, if that doesn't work the way it does, there's no turnaround. So
at that point, it's you're still just digging in first round quarterbacks until somebody's so good that it saves you. Probably.
You guys could have had Jamarcus Russell. Nah, you never were gonna lose less than 4 games.
The GOAT.
Win less than 4 games.
True. All right. Well, we'll see what happens with the Dallas Cowboys. There's going to be a long list of candidates. And listen, for Cowboys fans hoping for a good candidate, like the hope that the Jones can somehow actually convince a quality, candidate that's up and coming to come play or come coach the franchise, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And plus, there's worse jobs out there, significantly worse jobs available right now than the Dallas Cowboys. Look at the Jets, look at the Jags. The New Orleans Saints job, that one seems like a miserable job to take, considering their cap situation.
Yeah.
I think, though, if you're a first-time head coach, you might look at that and say, that's like a playing with house money thing because no one will blame me if it doesn't go well. I'll get fired, but no one will blame me. Like, I can get another job after that because they'll just be like, well, obviously.
As long as you show some level of competence, you'll be able to get another job after that.
He's the rainbow.
But you can absolutely tank your own stock.
That's true.
If it's an absolute dumpster fire. So I wouldn't call that necessarily house money that you're working with in that situation. But yeah, there's other, like I said, there's worse jobs out there. I think if the Jones are super serious about trying to get like a guy like Ben Johnson, your number one competition will be the Chicago Bears, probably in that case. I know the Mike McCarthy's been linked to the Bears.
To turn that back a little bit, McCarthy, it was tweeted today that the Bears flew him in on a private jet, and they haven't done that for anyone else. McCarthy, that is.
No, I think they're going to do McCarthy as well.
And I think they wanted him. They would have hired him last week,
Probably. But we'll see. I could have sworn
he's a good hire. I think Mike McCarthy's still a good coach. I think, honestly, he probably would have had a very...
He raises the floor.
Since the Bears aren't immediately ready to compete, he keeps Caleb Williams in a stable environment.
And I feel bad for him because, like, Packers, a lot of good things about the Packers when he took over them, right? But mostly the annoying thing about the Packers is they're still kind of cheap at the top end, right? Yeah. Then you come to the Cowboys and you're like, oh, this is the greatest opportunity ever. You have all the resources in the world, all the money in the world. What's stopping the Cowboys? Well,
they don't want to spend that money.
That's the persona. Yeah, they have the money, but good luck getting to it. And then now you go to the Bears, who kind of are a middle between the two of these programs where theoretically you should be walking into a nice situation where you can win and win a lot. But then at the same time, when it gets time for them to be good, are the Bears going to double down? Are they going to spend? Are they going to go for it? Are they,
So they've always tried. They've just been incompetent.
And that's the thing. I'll say about Mike McCarthy. He's going to bring, like I said, he's going to raise the floor, bring a level of competence that they haven't had in a long time, probably since the peak of the Lovie Smith era. So for what that's worth. Also, I believe the Saints have already or are going to interview Mike McCarthy. And I've seen some reports saying Mike McCarthy might be more partial to.
He worked there.
The Saints.
He worked there, and he knows the owners. He's friends with them. But I think given the choice, he'll take Caleb Williams over trying to clean the Saints mess up. But
I don't know.
I don't know how much he actually likes those owners. He might like them that much.
And I feel like there's a more important fuck you to the Bears or to the Packers that he's got in him than what he was able to do with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. For some reason, he never gives me that vibe that he even has second thought about that kind of thing. But
because he knew what kind of program he was working with the Cowboys. He was like, I might be able to beat Green Bay, but there's only going to be so much glory to this. With the Bears, there's a whole new slate. There's a rivalry angle historically with it.
And then you get multiple chances a year.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's that angle too. But yeah, all right. If we have nothing else on Coach Tom, what's up?
What?
Oh, never mind. All right. Well, if there's nothing else left to say about the coaches, we're going to move on to recapping the wild card weekend. Patrick, close your eyes, cover your ears, because we're going to get to your team relatively quickly. But listen, we're going to start with Saturday's results. The Chargers, to the shock of some, but not to many who are more plugged in with the Chargers. Yeah, no, they did what the Chargers do, and they lose in the playoffs. And they lost in spectacular fashion, getting their ass kicked by the Houston Texans. It was close in the first half, and then in the second half, it just was not. The Texans were the more physical team. Their defense was just creating havoc for Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert continues to grow his legacy in the what-if categories of NFL internet talk. If he had this, if he did that, he would be this. But, yeah, no. All the ifs in the world don't change the result.
He's just a mortal man.
He's just a mortal man. He's a highly talented quarterback on a deeply flawed team with a very competent head coach who employs a very lackluster offensive coordinator. And so you're going to get some mixed results as this Chargers team continues to rebuild itself. And,
this was year one of that, right, with Harbaugh?
Yeah, this is year one of Harbaugh. I don't think that they anticipated being a playoff team if they're being honest with themselves, with just a lot of holes on the roster, both on the interior of their offensive line, their wide receiving core. Even though Ladd McConkey, the guy balled out. He's a real lad. He's a real lad. And Quentin Johnson continues to make a name for himself as a guy who is gonna flame out of the league if he keeps not showing up the way that he does, despite having a bounce back. What you could say is a bounce back season from his rookie year. It went as bad as it could his rookie year, and then this year, steps up. Makes more catches, has more yards, has more touchdowns, and yet still disappears in the moments that matter most, kind of like Justin Herbert has in the playoffs, or at least in this playoff game.
Lad.
Oh yeah, but you know what? It shouldn't shock too many people. The Texans, they are coached by a guy who's going to keep this team ready to play and ready to hit hard and ready to just make your life miserable on the defensive end. DeMeco Ryans, he had his boys on defense ready, and then all the offense had to do was be competent, and that's exactly what they did. C.J. Stroud played his best game in a couple weeks, despite the interception, despite the sacks that he took, and then the run game looked fully functional for once. So Texans advance.
There was that really hilarious moment where it looked like the Chargers might be coming back and they get a touchdown, and then Dicker's extra point gets blocked and he doesn't know how football works, so he just swats it down to the ground so it's still a live ball and they run it back for 2.
Yeah, that's not what they pay me.
That was when I was like, I don't think this comeback's happening.
No, not at all. I mean, it would have taken a lot for them to come back at that point when that play occurred, I think.
No, because if they had gotten that, they would have only been down 8, but instead they were down.
What was the score at the time of that?
Okay, so instead of making it a 2-possession game, that turned it back into a 3-possession game, is what happened.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, there's no way they would have been
final. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that for sure sealed the deal, if nothing else. And so that was the Texans winning their semi-annual Saturday.
I think they're 5-2 on the Saturday wildcard games now.
Yeah, I said it was either they're going to lose it or they're going to go get beat by Kansas City in the next game after winning it easily. So,
which is probably what's going to happen. Now, the next game that we had on Saturday, it was the Baltimore Ravens actually just kicking the shit out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, that first half was an absolute just drudging of the Steelers. They kind of made it a little more interesting with their third quarter run, but I don't think the score was ever in doubt. Ravens win 28-14. And I think this bodes well for the Baltimore Ravens' hopes. You definitely want to gain as much confidence as you can, especially considering their reputation or lack thereof in the Lamar Jackson era for their playoff performances. But this one, I mean, let's be real. They put almost 300 yards on the ground on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Lamar Jackson just made a couple plays here and there. But for the most part, Derrick Henry on the ground, running through the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And, Bethke's claim of TJ Watt being a fraudulent defensive player of the year continues to gain more ground because I don't think that he has logged a stat. I saw something crazy where he hasn't logged in like a real stat in a really long time. I don't even see his name on the box score. Yeah, no, his name is nowhere on the box score. So it's crazy that such a talented guy got just absolutely erased.
Taco Charlton pick not so bad after all.
All right. That's egregious. But that one deserves jail time right there. But yeah, not much to say about this game. I don't think anybody really gave the Steelers much of a chance, especially the way that they've been declining late into the season. They're going to have a lot of questions to answer at the quarterback position and what they do with Mike Tomlin. It seems like they're going to keep Mike Tomlin for another year, but the man hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. And sure, he has never had a losing season, but man, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers might actually benefit from bottoming out for a year or two. And they're not going to be able to do that with Mike Tomlin. So we'll see what happens. Baltimore Ravens, they have an interesting matchup. It should honestly be a matchup saved for like the championship round, but we're getting in the divisional round. And that is, as we move on to the next game, their opponent was the winner of the Bills-Broncos game. That is the Buffalo Bills. Now, guys, I'm not going to lie. That first quarter, I was like, oh, all right. The Broncos seem a little...
They had us in the first quarter. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and then the rest of the game played out the way that it did, and the Bills just big brothered the Broncos really fucking hard. Josh Allen played an efficient 20-26. You had James Cook, ran the ball really well. He had 120-something yards on the ground. The Bills ran for 200+ themselves. I mean, this Bills offense really made that Denver Broncos defense look silly. For essentially, 3 quarters, and then that first quarter was a little bit where you're like, all right, maybe they do have a shot in this. Bo Nix, I mean, he didn't have the worst playoff game a rookie's ever had. 13 of 22, 144 yards, nothing spectacular, nothing great, nothing necessarily you can say, hey, you can hang your hat on your performance, but also not something that you can kill the guy for. All things considered, I don't think anybody gave the Broncos a real chance at winning this game. And they were right not to. All right. You are facing one of the best teams in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, who have a huge chip on their shoulder trying to reach the promised land of the Super Bowl. Did you guys have anything to say on this game? Because I don't feel like there was too much to talk about.
I saw a funny thing. 1 second. Let me get it back up.
This was a great pattern for Lamar Jackson, potentially, I would hope.
Hopefully.
So Sean Payton implied that they thought that they were going to beat the Chiefs if they won that game, the wild card game. He said there's a lot of confidence in this team. If we could get past that game, the next game we felt real good about.
Sean Payton, you are a delusional fuck.
He blew out their third team and thought we could take on the king.
You couldn't even take on the prince.
That's why someone has to employ Sean Payton, no matter who it is.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, keep him around. He's good to laugh at. All right. Well, that concludes that concluded that day's or the morning game. Now we move on to what was the afternoon game. It was the Philadelphia Eagles running all over the Green Bay Packers. It really wasn't running all over the Green Bay Packers. This game, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles defense showed up. All right. They forced Jordan Love into 3 interceptions. They kept them out of the red zone. You knew what time it was once the Green Bay Packers fumbled that opening kickoff, which I've heard some Packers fans saying, like, was that not a clear recovery? And I'm just gonna tell it to you like this, Packers fans. As an Eagles fan, we've been fucked over by the refs when there was a clear recovery of the football, and they gave it to the other team. So it was just, it's not your fault.
Anybody else
it was just your turn. Okay? It was just your
anybody else with a pair of eyes. Yes, it was, but it would have set essentially like the equivalent to a legal precedent that I don't think any of the NFL referees in that arena were wanting to set that night.
The problem is every single time they decide not to make a call correct, that's their argument, you know? It's like, so you're just never gonna get stuff right, even though we can all see it.
Pretty much, man. That's yeah.
Got bit by that a few times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In this game, the big talking points of this game was Jalen Hurts in the passing game. He started off 6 of 6, had a touchdown, finished the game 13 of 21, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. One, maybe he had to make one really bad sack in there, which is par for the course for him. But the offense didn't have to be spectacular to beat this Green Bay Packers team. I think a lot of national pundits thought this might have been the most interesting game of Wild Card Weekend. But I honestly, going into this game, seeing how the Green Bay Packers had done against teams with winning records, they had the talent on paper to make this fight scene, maybe even come out with the upset. However, the talent just couldn't make it through, both in like the figurative sense and the literal sense, because Green Bay Packers players were dropping like flies in this game. It felt like every quarter they were losing somebody, either in the receiving core, the offensive line, or somewhere on the defense. Unfortunately for Eagles fans and the Eagles defense, they did lose Nakobe Dean to a patellar tendon injury, so his career might be in jeopardy in Philadelphia, despite having such a huge breakout season. Because that's everything that I've learned about this injury is it'll take about 11 to 12 months for the recovery time. So he may not see the field again till December of this year. So
it felt like Green Bay really missed every opportunity they could have had, and they got bad breaks. On top of the fact that like they were playing a team more talented than them at their arena.
Yeah, I mean, there was
not great.
Not great. I mean, listen, the Green Bay Packers did have some moments, right? But it felt like anytime they had even like the slightest bit of momentum, the Eagles defense just managed to create a turnover or get a timely stop. And the Packers just couldn't break through. And I think they're going to have a lot of questions going into the offseason about that receiving core, because there is no real star of that team or on that side of the ball, no real difference maker. They have a great running back in Josh Jacobs.
I was going to say their running back room's good.
Yeah, it is good. It's just they're going to need more than that if they want to break through into the category of like elite NFL teams. And I don't think you're going to win with a receiver by committee the way that the Kansas City has done, unless you have like a Patrick Mahomes. And for Jordan Love, for all the talent that he has, he's not that guy, at least not yet.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that just a bit, I saw this tweeted out today. Jordan Love this season, including the wild card game on pure dropbacks. 57% completion percentage, 15 touchdown to 15 interception ratio, only 7.5 yards per attempt, and 77.6 QBR, or just rating. Sorry, not QBR. So not good. I think he's kind of in that same Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott tier of if everything's going right around him, it'll work. But he's not that guy.
I would say that he's shown flashes where he can take over a game. I just don't think that he can put it together.
And Dak Prescott.
No. Don't ever put Kirk Cousins in the.
Kirk Cousins has the biggest comeback in NFL history.
I don't care. He's not that guy.
That's what I'm saying.
I believe more.
He's not that guy.
I'm gonna believe in Jordan Love having that physical ability to take over a game. I just don't think that he can do it consistently right now. And I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that, like I said, they're missing star players around him on offense outside of Josh Jacobs. There's only so many times that he can make these spectacular throws to Romeo Dobbs or
Green Bay's going to tell you tough shit, bro. Make it work.
I know that's what they're going to do.
Make it work. Make it enough.
And that's to their own detriment. So until they can open up that purse a little bit and go get themselves a difference maker on the outside for him to play with, this is what we're going to have to live with. If
Christian Watson once get 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys.
Did he? But yeah, Christian Watson's a very limited receiver in that he really only does one thing, and he doesn't do it at an elite level. If he did an elite level, then yeah, sure. I mean, you could be the next Deshaun Jackson, because Deshaun Jackson was really just a deep ball specialist, and he made a great career out of it because he was one of the best at it. But Christian Watson's not that guy, at least, again, like Jordan Love, not yet. But yeah, going with this game, I will say one last thing. I love that Nolan Smith, the talk about him coming into the season was bust. A guy who, the Eagles whiffed on in the draft. And people forget, defensive ends do not develop as quickly as other positions. And this guy's really come on strong. He has 2 sacks in his first playoff game. Love that for the guy. The sack bond continues to show out. I mean, going from a special teamer in New Orleans to a first-team All-Pro with the Philadelphia Eagles in his first year as a starting linebacker, incredible. Now, we'll move on from the Eagles-Packers game, and we're going to talk about a game, the only playoff game that I actually did not watch. I only kind of skimmed and looked at it because I thought Tampa Bay would handle business.
I should call my own foul on whenever I thought I was watching Eagles-Packers the night before the actual game, and it turns out it was a replay of a game earlier.
Oh, the game in Brazil?
Neither one of you called me out on it either. I didn't figure it out till the next morning.
Yeah, because in my head, when I read the message, I was like, oh, so he's going to go watch that movie.
That makes sense. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, at that time, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I
honestly wasn't sure what was happening I thought you were telling us ahead of time or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, now it makes a lot more sense in my brain.
Yeah, because I was like, huh, well, all right, cool. I mean, I
was like, sick plans, bro.
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to know.
Yeah, listen, I thought that when you sent that message, I'm like, that's actually really sick. I would love to watch that movie in theaters.
For the audience, I got to go watch the 1990 film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the Texas Theater. And then there's a concert behind the screen afterwards, which was pretty cool. Just like a little mini stage set up behind the screen down there.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I'll be going to that theater on Saturday for a friend's birthday. So
the concessions are cheap as hell. That's nice. We got 2 sodas, a popcorn, and a pizza. It was like $20.
Do they have Nosferatu?
I don't know. I didn't look at the schedule. They do, or they did.
All right. You said 2 drinks.
So
right?
It was a small and a large drink.
Large drink, a popcorn and a pizza.
And the smallest popcorn.
Okay.
But still, I mean at a Cinemark, that's $50. So
yeah, no, you're not entirely wrong on that one. Although, for all our movie lovers out there, popcorn lovers specifically, bring a giant bucket on the 19th to your local Cinemark, and you can get all the popcorn you want for $5.
What's that?
So there's a limit. You can bring a bucket that holds up to
why the 19th
ounces.
What's going on?
I don't know, dude. That's just their That's just their thing.
Every month?
I'm going to go find me a bucket that's 400 ounces, and I'm going to spend $5 for 400 ounces of popcorn.
Oh, it's a new thing they're starting this year called Bring Your Own Bucket Day on National Okay, it's National Popcorn Day.
Yeah, I'm so down. You guys don't understand. I'm a big lover of popcorn.
I'm a Cinemark movie rewards member, all right? I know about popcorn.
I've popped some kernels.
I'm only in the free tier. Sorry, I'm not a real.
I like collecting. Well, it was when they started doing the Studio Ghibli movies every month during the summer. So I was like, well, I'll get one free ticket a month. So just do it, and I did it. And now I've just got a bunch of extra free tickets built up that I need to burn through. So
hell yeah, fuck yeah.
Football.
Yeah, football. Let's talk about this game. This game was, it was a thriller. You look at it, the Commanders won on a field goal to close things out. I did not watch this game at all.
They won on as the clock was expiring, not on like a kneel down or something like that. Like the final score was happening as the clock was running out.
Yeah, and this continues to add to the legend of Jaden Daniels' rookie season. That's gonna go down. And you know what? For all the shit that I have given Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury, hey man, they the Commanders wouldn't be here without them, and without Jaden Daniels, of course. All three of those guys are making this work. I mean,
unless we forget Scary Terry, the true MVP of Washington.
In this game, like I said, I didn't watch this game, so it looked like De'Ami Brown and Scary Terry both had pretty good games.
I mean, Terry's been doing it consistently for that franchise through just terrible years, and now he's going to see some fruits of the labor.
Yep, all that just to go to Detroit and possibly get your ass kicked. Possibly. Listen, there's one thing that the Commanders have been doing a lot of, and that is playing really close games, winning by the skin of their teeth, and they have not faced an offense to the same quality as the Detroit Lions and have won that game. Because even though the Eagles may be just as talented, that offense is way more dysfunctional than the Detroit Lions.
And yeah, you didn't watch the game, so I'm not sure how much of the context you know, but a lot of the reason they won that game is because Baker Mayfield had maybe the worst fourth quarter of his life.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, I see that he lost the fumble.
So they get a stop.
Yeah, I went to bed
stop in the red zone. I think it was a turnover on downs in the red zone, or it might have been an interception in the red zone.
No, he didn't have an interception in this game.
No. I mean the other way around, like how they got the ball, how the Bucs got the ball. So they're all of a sudden, 16 yards from a touchdown, and Baker accidentally runs into the running back with the ball. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a handoff or a fake, but he fumbles it. And then, proceeds. I think he throws an interception after that, right?
Yep. No, he doesn't throw an interception.
He never threw an interception? Okay.
Nope. Matter of fact, he had a very efficient game. He went 15 of 18 for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, but I'm looking at this, and like I said, I didn't watch the game. The fucking Washington Commanders ran 68 plays, and the the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think they ran 43. That is a huge disparity in terms of time on the field. And so for Tampa Bay to have had the lead and then kind of just fuck it all away in the fourth quarter the way that they did,
the fumble was the fumble the last? No, the fumble wasn't the last drive. They got a field goal, and I guess they just didn't get the ball back.
Yeah, no, they definitely did not get the ball back. But that fumble led to that touchdown, which let Washington take the lead, and they had to settle for field goal, which, by the way, hello, head coaches in the NFL and the playoffs, if you want to win a playoff game, stop settling for fucking field goals and go for the goddamn win. It's not, it's a very simple formula, because the field goal can only win you the game if you're tied and with time expiring. Otherwise, go for the win via a touchdown. But, you can't teach those old dogs new tricks. But yeah, like I said, I didn't get to really watch this game. So all I know is
just confirm. So Washington turned it over on downs. And that's where Tampa picked it up and then immediately fumbled. That's so sad. All right, sorry.
No, you're good. No, very depressing end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But that's one less team that I have to worry about, at least in my delusional scenario of the Eagles going deep into the playoffs. They might, but I don't know. I just can't ever really get a good hold of this team. But let's talk about lastly the Monday night game. All right, Patrick, you can leave the room if you want. You can cover your ears, cover your eyes. You can you can play Matt. Go ahead and just play some Madden 93 while we talk about this game. The Los Angeles Rams just stomped the daylights out of the Minnesota Vikings in what was a textbook classic Sam Darnold performance. The Sam Darnold of old came to play to the shock and horror of many Minnesota Vikings fans, where he got sacked 9 times. 9 times. Threw an interception, and I believe lost a fumble. Yeah. So the Minnesota Vikings season came to an end. I'm sure there's a lot of mixed feelings about this, but just in terms of the game, the Los Angeles Rams, they were physical on defense. On offense, listen, they made the plays that they had to make. Matthew Stafford, if you look at his stat line, 19 to 27, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, you're like, it wasn't that great of a performance, but it was everything that it needed to be. The Rams running attack was solid, maybe a little unspectacular, didn't matter. They got the yards that they needed to get. They made all the plays that they needed to make while their defense was smothering Sam Darnold and that Minnesota Vikings offense. I believe there was like a stat somewhere that I saw where on 26, Sam Darnold was pressured on 26 dropbacks. And on those 26 dropbacks that he was pressured on, the Minnesota Vikings gained 2 yards. 2 yards. That is not a number that you can live with in the NFL or survive with in the NFL, especially on the playoffs. It looks like to me that the Rams, like having watched that game, the Rams just outcoached the Vikings in this game, and Sam Darnold just kind of reverted back to a pumpkin. Pretty sure on the broadcast, Troy Aikman didn't even insinuate, just straight up said Sam Darnold has cost himself millions of dollars with this performance. And to some extent, I might think that's true, but I don't think he cost himself that much. Maybe he cost himself an opportunity to return.
When you combine the 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, he definitely lost himself a lot of money.
Yeah, because they could have had the 1 seed. And now he could have at least, what if the Vikings win? Who do they play? How does it get seeded this week?
And then also I don't remember, but and the way they lost both of those games are entirely on him. So
yeah, I mean, he was absolutely a detriment. And to be honest, this was the Sam Darnold that I kind of expected to see show up way more than he did. There was times I felt like throughout the season that he wanted this to, or not wanted to, but like, it's just bad habits die hard, and those kind of were hidden away by the fact that the Minnesota Vikings have great talent on the offense and a great head coach calling plays, and were able to mitigate some of that. But eventually, this part of Sam Darnold's game as a quarterback came out at the worst possible time. It's unfortunate, especially for Vikings fans and for himself, because he, could possibly have costed himself an opportunity to come back to the Vikings. And sure, he'll get plenty of money somewhere else. It's just somewhere else will not have the infrastructure that the Vikings do that allowed him to flourish in this breakout season. But that said, Patrick, do you have any thoughts on this game? Any feelings that you want to get out? You want to just throw out there and vent?
Mostly because the expectation was so low before the year. It obviously really sucked in the moment, but also it's like I had no expectation of anything like this year. So even being this good and getting this far just makes me feel better about the future. I think that if McCarthy had been healthy through the preseason, he probably would have been in by week 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. And then who knows? So then we'll get to see a little bit more of what that is next year. It was a frustrating 2 weeks of football, frustrating weekend of football, especially between the Texas game Friday and then this one on Monday. Monday wild card's awful because then you're the last game, so you're what everyone's talking about going into the week. So that sucks.
A true island game.
The Sam Darnold stuff, especially in the wild card game, so many of those sacks happened when he held the ball for so long. Yeah. And it's just, you know what I mean? Like, you can say that the Rams defense pressured well, but really they just didn't have to do much because he just wouldn't get rid of the ball. He just, it was frustrating.
I mean, a lot of that can be tied back to just the coverage that the Rams
had. Go watch any of that. He had guys. He just wouldn't take. I don't know. It's confusing. Same with watching Quinn doing stuff. It's like it's all there. You're just not doing it. So yeah, it was a fun enough year. Hopefully we can get enough of the gang back together. Give Flores a chance. Hopefully to not get hired somewhere. I'd really like him to stick around.
I imagine that he's not going to get hired yet. Well, he has an active lawsuit against the league and some other coaches.
That's a way to get the lawsuit to go away. is to hire him because it kind of negates the lawsuit. So, but I mean, people are going to interview him, so we'll see. I think most of the teams can only most of the team can only really get better. The question is going to be, what does McCarthy actually bring, and can they get an interior offensive line put together in the draft?
Very true. Very true.
That because the running game, Aaron Jones did his best, but he can only do so much with a crappy offensive line there.
Yeah, and it did seem like on the broadcast that whenever he did have like a successful run here and there, the commentary was just like, "Oh yeah, it's do they know that they're down in this game?"
Well, I mean, that was the other thing is the whole second half. I don't know. It was like the whole team was in a fugue state. You're down like 3 scores and you're just walking back to the line. It was it just felt weird. And I think everyone knew Sam wasn't going to be able to perform, and you just didn't have any other option.
What do you mean? Daniel Jones was right there.
You didn't have any other option. But yeah,
love for DJ.
I mean, he's probably great in the room, but I don't want to see him play.
Well, he will probably be next year's backup anyway.
For sure. I think that is the case. And I wouldn't be terribly surprised. I don't know what the tag price is. If they do tag Darnold, even if he doesn't end up starting.
It'd be a lot. It would be a lot for a start.
It's just average. It's just the 1-year average for the position, right?
Yeah, amongst starters, I believe.
Yeah.
So that would be a pretty high.
Does that change year to year? Because I know next year isn't Dak getting paid like $65 million or something?
I'm not entirely sure, but what this year's tag would be, but it does change based on
I wonder if they do like the mean or like get rid of anyways, there's definitely still some questions. They weren't a perfect team. It's weird to only lose to 2 teams all year and be out at the wild card. You'd think if someone told you before a season started, you're only going to lose to 2 football teams this year, you'd probably think you're at least in the Super Bowl, right? Like, yeah, so that's a weird one. I had a tough time picking Rams games all year.
It's a tough team to nail down, man.
Yeah,
they were playing by
they're not bad. They're not great. I think most of the NFC is, if not all of the NFC is not bad, not great. I think a healthy Lions team might be different, but that's a different conversation. But as for the Vikings, we'll run it back. We pulled back to number 1 of most playoff losses of all time. Suck on that, Cowboys. You guys are back to number 2.
Oh man,
it was really sad watching Jefferson not be happy, but not luckily he's not like the other wide receivers we've had before.
To Baltimore.
Yeah, none of that's happening. So it was a fun year. Can't be upset. You won 14 games. What are you gonna do?
No, I mean, you had a great regular season, way above expectations. I think
look at
next
my
year's
graphic again.
Sad.
I really like the one of him in the basic fetal position at the bottom.
Oh, poor guy.
We're only ready to give birth.
All right.
Happy baby.
Happy baby. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the previewing of the divisional round. We have Texans at Chiefs. I don't think this one requires very much discussion or conversation. Chiefs all the way. I just don't see how the Chiefs don't win this game.
You don't pick against them until they lose, right? So
exactly. And does anybody imagine the Texans being the team to oust the Chiefs? I mean, this game will be close. I mean, all Chiefs games, for the most part, when they play all their starters, have been close games. I don't imagine that the Chiefs all of a sudden just have an explosive offense, especially against this defense. But I just don't think that the Chiefs are going to.
The Chiefs receivers are just getting healthier.
I mean, I guess, but even so, those healthy receivers still aren't great by any means. Granted, they're 15-2, so they can't be too bad. But
yeah,
still,
they only really lost one game. I'm not counting that Broncos game. I mean, just if you can get Worthy and Brown both back healthy, they might not be the top talented guys, but they're just so damn fast. And with Mahomes, that's all you need is someone who can just run around out there.
True. No, if you're a Houston Texans fan, one, I'm sorry. Two, if you want some semblance of hope that you can win this game, it's that this is the year that Patrick Mahomes has looked the most human he has ever looked in his entire starting career. And if your defense can get stops and, more importantly, convert turnovers into points, you have a shot. But that is your one and only path to victory, because especially with your offense being decimated with injuries at the receiving position. The Chiefs are just going to win this. All right, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised, shocked. I think this will be a game that barely gets any views in terms of their usual ratings count, simply because I don't think anybody really believes the Texans stand a fighting chance in this game. Next game, we have the more exciting matchup of Saturday night. It is the Commanders going to Detroit. And boy, oh boy, this one should be an exciting one, at least in terms of offense. Listen, this Lions team, we all know what their calling card is. It is the fact that their offense can score on anybody, and they can score as many times as need be. All right. There hasn't really been a defense all year long that they have faced that has stifled them, that has stopped them. They've just been able to score at will. The Achilles heel of that team is the fact that they have been so heavily decimated on defense that it's really a credit to Aaron Glenn that they haven't lost more games than they have, right? Their only two losses being a weird early season loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and then a shootout to the Buffalo Bills at home. It was 48-42. Your offense did everything that they could have to win that game. They put up 42 points on the board. In the NFL, if you put a 40 burger on somebody, you kind of expect to win the game. You don't expect to, have to suffer the effects of a defeat in that regard. Now, this will be their toughest test, I think, since, I don't know, I want to say since that Buffalo game. Washington cannot be overlooked anymore. Though they may not have elite talent on either end of the ball, they have been well coached, and Jaden Daniels makes plays when he needs to. That said, I don't think he makes enough plays in this game. I don't think that Commanders defense is able to hang with this Detroit Lions offense for 4 quarters, especially in Detroit at Ford Field. It's a home game. It's a dome game. Jared Goff. Those are the perfect conditions for that guy. I expect this one to be a double-digit win for the Detroit Lions. But fellas, do y'all have anything that you want to see out of this game? Anything that you might expect or hope to see? I don't know.
No, Dan Campbell mania gets one big win, and then we get to put it to the test for real. And
this will be their first
game.
If they win that, it'll be their first trip to the conference title game, right?
No, they went last year.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think as long as they don't screw around early and score enough points, if they score enough points early on, they don't have anything to worry about. If you screw around too much, Jaden Daniels can quickly get 70, 80 yards run down the field on you with no time taken off the clock. So you just don't want to give him that option.
Absolutely. All right. And now we're going to move on to Sunday's game. The first game to kick off Sunday's divisional round is going to be the Rams at the Eagles. This matchup will be their second meeting. They met earlier in the year where the Philadelphia Eagles ran for over 300 yards on that defense. Saquon Barkley had a career-high 255 yards rushing, and he had 2 runs that went for 70 yards in that game. Do I think that happens again? No. Nowhere close. I think the Rams are going to sell out to stop the run, and they're going to put the onus on Jalen Hurts and that passing offense. Listen, the more this season goes on, the more that I collect more and more just data with my own eyes, right, of just how Kellen Moore has called this team. I think that Nick Sirianni's grubby little fingerprints have been all over this passing game because I just don't think this is the same passing game that Dak Prescott had so much success with when they were paired together. I think they had in the 4 seasons that Kellen Moore was an offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. I want to say that's how long he was. 2 years or 2 different seasons where they were a top 10 passing offense. And those were years that, in the other years, I don't believe that Dak Prescott was healthy. So, all that to say that this will be a true test of the Philadelphia Eagles passing game. They're going to be, I think they're going to be asked to put Jalen Hurts in rhythm and really get A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith involved. We've seen Dallas Goedert. He doesn't really need a lot of touches to get going, all right? He got 1 catch in that game, and he took that shit to the house. He stiffed arm and trucked the same guy like 3 different times on that one run. And that offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles, if it's not the Eagles, then it might be the Detroit Lions with the 2 best offensive lines in football. They're making the way for Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley last week, if he wanted to, he could have had a 60-yard touchdown run. This is a line that will absolutely wear you down, and eventually Saquon Barkley will break one off for a long touchdown run and take it to the house. And so, with that said, I look at what the offense of the Rams brings, and I mean, listen, Cooper Kupp dealt with injuries. He's not the same Cooper Kupp that we're used to. It's been more of the Puka Nacua show. This is still Sean McVay, who I don't think is as great of a head coach as other people like to make him out to be. Super Bowl, his be damned. He's a conservative play caller, but he's a creative play caller, which is a weird conundrum to have for a head coach. I think he will pull out all the stops on offense to try to get these guys open. But I think that the Philadelphia Eagles defense will just be a little too suffocating. This will be a close game, in my opinion. It's going to be an ugly game, as a lot of Philadelphia Eagles games have been. But I think they get away with this one, and they meet their end in the championship game against the Lions. But as far as the divisional round goes, I think the Eagles win this one in a close one. I'm going to say this game ends 21-18, favor of the Eagles. But fellas, I got to hear your opinions. How you think the Eagles will win or lose this game? Becky, you're the number one Eagles hater in this trio of ours. How do you see them falling to the Rams?
Yeah, unfortunately, the world is trying to show Stephen Jones how big of an idiot he is. So the Rams are going to win 77-0.
All right. Eventually, 1 year he'll get a 77-0 right.
Whew. I mean, yeah, at least go to college if you're going to try to get that. There's a few chances. I think as long as, Jalen doesn't do anything weird with the ball, then they're good. Saquon's going to get his yards, and the Rams are pretty good. I just don't think that they're going to be able to beat these Eagles right now. I don't know. I already mentioned earlier I haven't been able to figure out the Rams all year, so whatever I say doesn't matter.
That is fair. Now, guys, I think this is the game that I think most football fans with nothing at stake would actually really enjoy to watch. I know I'm going to enjoy watching this game. It's the Ravens. It's the Bills. You have two of the best quarterbacks in the league. You have who's arguably played the best football at the quarterback position this year in Lamar Jackson. And this is the best offense he's ever been a part of. Just bar none. He has a guy who ran for over 1,900 yards. He's had his receivers, despite not really being a different core from last year, just seems to be making better plays than they were last year for him. And he has just been so efficient with the ball. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anybody have the stat line of 41 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. Only 4 interceptions on over 474 attempts. The guy's been unreal this season. And then you have the guy who's been right behind him. Josh Allen's had another really good year. Not an MVP level year. I don't care what anybody has to say about that one. It's not been close. If we're talking about the MVP race, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Saquon Barkley, it's Josh Allen in that order, in my opinion. But you look at this Bills team, 13-4. They were 8-0 at home. 9-0 now, actually.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
It turns out it was Fly Eagles Fly.
Yeah, hopefully I'll hear that at the end of Sunday. But anyway, listen, this team right now is playing all cylinders, or is firing all cylinders. The Bills are, but so are the Ravens. Something's got to give. The Ravens have been pretty good at home. Been pretty good away. 6-3. That's a respectable record to have on the road. But the Bills undefeated at home. Something's got to give in this matchup. The Bills want to erase any and all of their demons against the Kansas City Chiefs, so they might be looking ahead in this game. I don't know if that Bills defense can contain that Baltimore Ravens offense, but at the same time, it feels like Harbaugh in these moments comes up with just the most conservative game plans to not lose the game. And hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they have created a game plan that allows this Ravens offense to be hyper aggressive and to take shots and to really test that Bills defense. I think this one's going to be a shootout, guys. This is a game that it'd probably be in the high 20s, low 30s. It might even get into the 40s. Who fucking knows?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the temperature at first.
No. The score for sure. I think the temperature's going to be cold as shit because it's in Buffalo.
I would expect, yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the case, if it's a really cold game and it comes down to the run game, I mean, there's very few backs that you can trust to get tough yards in bad conditions like Derrick Henry. I believe the game calls for kickoff temperature of 16 degrees.
What does it say about precip?
Yeah, tell us what we want to know. You know what we want to know.
I know you guys want to know, will it snow? And right now, it shows that
let it snow,
nothing.
Let it snow.
It's 15% chance.
Oh well, God, get us.
But like, here's the thing: it's going to snow the day before. So the same shit that happened last week, where they had snow on Saturday, but clean field on Sunday.
Then, if they pay anybody to clean their stadium, they're cowards.
You know what I was disappointed by? A friend of mine a couple weeks ago, I guess, went to Lambeau for Chicago Green Bay. And the day before, they had a freaking heater tarp out on the field. These soft players don't want to play on the frozen hard ground.
Yeah, frozen tundra, as they like to call it,
the tundra
up there.
The frozen tundra.
No, they saw what the Tennessee Volunteers did with going out there shirtless and then in that cold Columbus weather and then getting absolutely trounced. But yeah, guys, what do you guys have any opinions or anything that you want to see out of this game? I know the football season is over for the both of you guys, and mine might be over after this weekend too. But there's some good football still available to watch.
Yeah, this one should be cool. I like Lamar. I like Josh Allen. I have no idea who's going to win this game. I'm picking Buffalo in our picks, but I'm not going to be surprised either way. I think it's just going to come down to whoever turns the ball over more, probably, and that's always just kind of a crapshoot. So. Yeah, I mean, one fumble here, one fumble there could make all the difference. And it's funny looking at the AFC teams versus the NFC teams because there's at least 3 of these AFC teams that I would not want to play. And I don't feel that necessarily the same way on the other side of the bracket.
Fair enough. Becky, what do you get? What?
First ballot, Lamar. He's going to get his biggest playoff win to date in this game, followed by his next biggest playoff win next week, followed by his actual best playoff win in the Super Bowl.
It'd be pretty crazy for the Ravens to pull off a third title in my life.
I believe in it.
And not just that, you're probably going to see, if that does happen, Lamar Jackson, MV3. Like, buddy, it's a.
You don't think Travis? You don't think Travis Hunter's going to win it for 10 years in a row, playing 2 positions? And
absolutely,
he said if he wins the championship, he's going to turn his jersey to number 1, and I feel like
he's going to go play baseball.
I mean, honestly, yes. After he wins the next 2 titles,
the Orioles don't need him. Never mind.
He's going to go there, and he's going to come back and save the Dallas Cowboys.
Lamar Jackson. The guy who grew up in South Florida.
It is funny.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a Cowboys fan anywhere. Really.
He's not a fan. He's doing it. He's doing it because he wants the greatest challenge. He wants to be the GOAT. So he's like, all right, I have to fucking turn this thing into a championship.
The greatest challenge would be making the Cleveland Browns a Super Bowl contender.
No, the only marginal amount of people care about that. You make the Cowboys win, everybody cares, and if they don't care, they're forced to anyway.
I think the greatest challenge is getting the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. If the Lions are about to get there, well, I mean to win it, you got to win it with the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's tough because the Cardinals probably would have won that Super Bowl against any other team. They just went up against a team that had the answers.
What about the Vikings? Because the Vikings.
Well, the Vikings at least have championships. They don't have a Super Bowl.
They don't.
They don't have a Super Bowl. They have championships.
What championships? I heard earlier today that they're the oldest North American male sports team to not win a championship.
No, they've got NFL championships from pre-Super Bowl era.
Are we sure about that?
They got the Elmer Fudd title.
Yes.
I'm going to look this up.
I'm 1,000,000% sure. The Cardinals have never won anything.
They were the 1936.
No, like the year before the Super Bowl existed.
I'm okay. They have 0 league championships.
They don't have any current Super Bowl championships. They have NFL titles.
No, that's what I'm looking at. They have 0 pre-merger championships.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, look. He's looking this up right now.
How dare he?
1969. They won the NFL title.
Where? Wasn't that the first year that they won the Super Bowl? That was the Super Bowl played?
Oh, they would have won the NFL championship, but then the
it's
Super
a
Bowl
weird. It's that weird like 5-year era where
won during the same season that the Super Bowl was contested.
Yeah, it was in that weird nebulous region before everything was decided what we were doing.
Weird. All right. That's a
no,
weird
the
year.
Cardinals. The Cardinals are the actual team that have literally never won anything, and they've been around since like the 30s, or maybe even before that.
Oh, really? Have they? Well, no, they won an NFC championship,
but not an actual title of it. Like, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Cardinals. That would be, I guess, the biggest challenge.
The Arizona Cardinals.
Assuming that the Lions. Well, no, the Lions did win in the 50s. All right. Well, there you go. Lamar Jackson.
So
if you want a real challenge,
Titans, Jags,
go to Arizona.
Panthers.
The Arizona Cardinals of Chicago.
He's been to 2 Super Bowls, so I mean, there's that.
The Jags have not been to a Super Bowl.
No, they have not. They have been to multiple
and AFC title games. Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
The Jaguars.
I'm trying to remember who those quarterbacks were.
I can tell you. Let me see.
Was it Byron?
No. Byron Leftwich? No, he was out of that. I want to say David Gerard.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mark Brunell in their first one, and then I'm going to say that
Buttholes.
Name. Yeah, Blake Bortles. Look at that. I know my Jacksonville Jaguars history.
Barstool buttholes.
All right. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this one because I think this is Lamar Jackson's year. And yeah, that concludes the previewing of the AFC divisional round. We will come back next week and talk football. I will either come onto this podcast really depressed or with delusional confidence. There is no in between. Fellas, I got nothing left.
And just a quick check on we all tied in the wild card round picking games.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was, well, we have the divisional round now. Or we could all just park the bus and just make the same picks and then not make it interesting.
Well, Jacob's already broken with that, so.
Oh, I know I can rely on Beth.
No, I'm just gonna let them fly the way they have to fly.
Listen, I have a feeling. I had a feeling he's gonna make this interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got. Patrick, bring it home.
Bringing it home. Thanks for a great week, everybody. It's time to start really getting ready for baseball season. Hockey's pumping, basketball's pumping. You don't have to watch any more football. It's actually over. They canceled it all. No one cares.
No Super Bowl this year. Sorry.
Anyways, yeah, I guess that's it. Unless you guys have anything fun to say, I'll just say good night and bye.
Best.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.